The Dons win 9-10-64 to Geelong 7-12-64. Sardis 30 disposals. D'Ambrosio 26, Bulban 25, Montgomery 24. The Dons finally get a win down at Cardinia Park. Welcome back to the Don Pod. Hello, Nathan. How are you?
Great, thanks, Sam. Great win. Really
Yes.
excited by the boys. Yeah, big win. We hate Geelong. Hate Geelong. Yep. Big win.
Oh, wait.
What?
I think I've forgotten something.
What's that?
Which isn't staged at all. There's another game on.
Well, there was another game?
I think we forgot.
Who was playing that?
I think we forgot the seniors.
Did the seniors play? Who watches? No, we don't watch the seniors. We're really all about the VFL. It's the future crop. All the young kids.
Did we fool anyone? Did anyone out there listening fall for that one?
Hope so. 2 hours of planning in that.
Close. Absolute shit show down at Cardinia Park. Essendon 7-3-45 to Geelong 18-14, 122.
I mean, seriously.
I refuse to be drawn into the whole Geelong's back thing. I just think we were god awful. If they win the flag from here, I'll still be pissed off because you can't lose by 70 points.
They won't win the flag. We have been their little whipping team for as long as I can remember.
We haven't beaten them since 2018, and our last three have been 70-something, 30-something, and 60-something last year, round one. Yep. So,
and we haven't won at Cardinia Park since
1990. But to be fair, haven't had the opportunity to play down there an awful lot.
Doesn't matter.
In that time.
Stat's a stat.
That's a stat, yep.
I just feel like there's something happens in our players' brains when they see the white hoops, the blue and white hoops.
Yeah, it's not even Cardinia Park, is it?
No, it's Geelong.
It's just Geelong Football Club.
The quality of football we've played the last 6 weeks has been as good against good teams. And then we play Geelong and we look like that team of 3 years ago, like that, just those rubbish bunch of spuds that are running around going, oh, I don't know what you're doing. Are you on my team? Shit. But we should kick it to it. Nah, don't worry about it. Get to the other team.
It's going to be a quick pod, I feel.
We're finished already. Thanks, everyone, and we'll be back next week.
For my own mental health, I had to turn it off after the first quarter, and I just check the scores periodically.
Well, for my own mental health, I didn't actually watch it.
You had plans.
Here's the freakish thing. I went out.
Yeah.
Weird. I had a social engagement.
Very weird.
With a comedian called David Quirk. Do you know David Quirk?
It's
quite funny.
Me? No, who else are you asking? No, I don't.
He's on Rosehaven. You watch Rosehaven?
Let's not do this. Every time you've ever asked me, have you seen this? My answer is no. It's a generation.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay.
Sounds like Boathaven. I'm sure that is. I don't know.
Spell that. Sounds like okay. Anyway, he was quite funny.
Yep,
he does.
Sure.
It's actually can I just the premise, because we don't want to talk footy.
No.
The premise of the comedy was about the fact that his brother, who was drafted to, now people might know this, drafted to St Kilda in 1987 as their number one pick. His name was Michael Quirk, and he never played a game for him.
Number one pick,
and he never played a game for St Kilda. And the whole premise was that some mate sent him this a while ago, sent him this thing from Wiki. Well, sorry, from an article saying that a reporter had written about Michael Quirk, saying he was so bad that not even a wiki page about him. And that this David Quirk went on a whole rampage against this journalist to only hunt him down one day in a book, book launch of his own book, and about to have a go at him, and he turns out to be a nice bloke, and he becomes friends with him. It's quite good.
One of those ones. You might have had to have been there. For that one.
Anyway.
But I'm glad you had a good night. The rest of us were suffering. And even though I wasn't watching it, trust me, I was suffering.
Every time I looked at the scores, I was like, ugh.
So, look.
Just to add a little bit of insult to it, sorry, one more thing. I went to this thing with my father-in-law who's Geelong.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're a little bit used to it.
Yeah.
Specifically with Geelong, we've overcome a few hurdles this year. Beating Richmond, was it Carlton, the other one we sort of broke a streak with? But no, the streak against the Cats continues. Weirdly, I feel like Geelong was better when we were beating them. In like 2017, 2018, we beat them in that country game. It was Fantasia and Danaher that were the stars. Interestingly, I looked at the last time we played them, which was last time we beat them, which was 2018. 7 players left from that team playing.
Whereas that'd be about the same.
Saturday night. Only 7 in 5 years, though. Is that a lot?
It's a bit of turnover.
Feels like that's a high turnover. Yeah.
And I was going to say they probably would have been a fairly similar team for them. Anyway.
Yeah, well, they don't change. Look, I'll reel off numbers. No one really cares. Heppel, 25 touches, our leading possession getter. Parrish, 24. And then McGrath, Martin, and Hobbs, 23. Individual goal scorers only: Wright, Stringer, Snelling, Menzies, Langford, Guelphy. And Brian, who was probably the shining light, had 20-odd hit-outs.
I thought he did well in the bits. I did try and watch some of it, but it was painful. I just watched highlights and other bits.
Yep, 14 touches and a goal to go with the 25 hit-outs. So, good game for him, good hit-out. I mean, Geelong don't have a recognised ruckman per se, but they're much bigger bodies, and I think that was the main contributor in actually us losing overall. But
I mean, Reece Stanley is a decent ruckman. There's no doubt about that. But you're right.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't realise he played. My bad. I thought it was still Blixarves.
No, Blixarves looks like he's rucked a little, but it's been mainly Stanley.
It was not
who is
Stanley.
He's a ruckman.
Player. He's a recognised ruckman. That's totally my mistake there. Thanks. I
don't think that was a thanks of actual thank you.
No,
it was you made me look like a dick. Thanks.
It's fine that we get it wrong. Cop it on all three of our chins and move on. What else is there to talk about? Yeah, well, it's literally what I do. We were just
atrocious.
For the 15, 20 minutes I watched. Turnovers, they scored over 100 of their 122 points on turnover.
Oh, God.
Which is just god-awful.
Do you reckon Chris goes around and he rings up Brad after and goes, ha, ha, ha,
and they're champion. Yeah, who's older? I mean, I know they're twins, but one of them has to be older.
One of them has to be by a minute or two. But you just the dinner, Sunday night dinner, if they go catch up with their mum and dad's, what happened to you boys on the weekend?
There was that conversation the first time we played them this year. What do we call it? And I think I like the most the competition for mum's love cup. And yeah, not Brad. Sorry, Chris has definitely got
Chris takes home the bickies again
this week and every week thereafter because they're in the premiership conversation again. Twice now this season we've put Geelong well and truly back in the conversation. Last time they flopped after that, so we can only hope.
They've got a pretty tough run, actually. I did have a little bit of a look. They've got quite a few games at home. At what do we call it?
Yep.
Goomba, whatever you call it.
Oh, GMHBA, yeah, Goomba. Yep.
Yeah. So they have a few games home, but they're against some pretty tough teams, actually. They've got Port and a few other, Collingwood, I think. So they got some, not Collingwood at Goomba, but...
No, God, no, Collingwood don't go down there.
No.
I do find that interesting. Rightly so, there was a bit of conversation about us having a whinge that we had to go to Goomba, and fair enough, all right, sometimes you just have to go away, and I was more against the fact they're under development. Going forward, I don't have an issue with it. Collingwood don't play there.
Richmond, I don't remember them playing there, but Collingwood don't. So your argument about it being Geelong's home ground is straight out the window immediately if every single one of their home games aren't there. That'd be interesting, though. I mean, I thought it was just the point I would have made was that it's not the ground, it's not where it is. It's the fact that it's not finished.
Geelong. Oh, well, yeah, and sorry, yeah. Back on
it's the fact that there's still, I don't know how many thousands of seats not in there. So you're playing.
It does look like it's close, though.
You've got a crowd, you've got a supporter base of Essendon that's got 60,000 whatever members, 70,000 whatever members, and Geelong who've got, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 as well. And you're playing at a ground. They
have a flag too. They'd have a few more.
Yeah, I'm playing at a ground that at the moment probably holds 30 or 25.
I find it fascinating. I don't mind going down there. It's just it's not consistent until you have Collingwood going down there to play Geelong and Geelong. It's not consistent, and I know Collingwood. Respect, they've had massive crowds. They had 60,000 at the G against Fremantle, for Christ's sake. Yep. But if it's not their home game, that's the argument being made to us. So, anyway, we're just salty because we lost.
It's easier to talk about these things than the actual game.
Yeah, I think we summed it up pretty well with the fact that 100 plus points from turnover.
It's just disgusting. Like everything, every bit. I've struggled with this for the last couple of days since it's happened, and it's every reason why 2 or 3 weeks ago I was thinking the way I was thinking about how this is about as good as we can get. We're still not a very good time. So long to go. There's a lot of things still not right. I still think there's a bottom 5 or 6 players on our list. There's still some things we need to get better at. And you watch a game like this and you see it all poke you in the eye. You think, oh yeah, it's just we're not big enough yet. We're not strong enough yet. We're not. The system doesn't work under pressure. Is that, when you see guys get the ball and they've got space, but they shit themselves and kick it out of the back 50 and it just comes straight back in. There's no running carry. There's no all that sort of stuff. So, it's just another, reason why we're still a couple of years away from being a really good side.
Which is okay.
Yep, of course it is.
Again, full picture that I'm sure Brad Scott would have talked about. Big picture. We're still overachieving to this point in the year. Not that takes away from a performance like that.
No.
But you've got to look at, and this is what surprises me and frustrates me. We played against Port, who were the second best team in the comp. They lowered their colours against Carlton, whatever. But they're big, they're strong, they're contested, they have tall players, they have small players. They're very good across the ground, and we can match that.
Yep.
You go against Geelong, who... Yep, they've got experience coming out their backsides for sure, but they're a bit bigger than us, and we get pummeled.
Yeah, and we played into their hands a lot too. Like we kicked the ball poorly to how they love to have the ball delivered to their defenders. They want their defenders to be by themselves, like the Stewarts and the what's his name? Henry.
Stewart.
Yeah. So they want those guys by themselves so that they take marks and turn around and take it back up the other end of the ground how they like to do it. And yet I felt like what we didn't do is what we know how to do is run and carry, run past that congestion and kick it over the top and hit leads and all that sort of stuff. You've just got to be more composed, and we just weren't.
So is that as you say, is that a composure issue? Is that
it's a maturity issue?
The notoriously narrow ground of GMHBA? Is it a Geelong and the way they defend?
I think it's just maturity. Is that under when the pressure came and the heat hit, and I think there's still mental scars personally, but we just didn't know how to deal with it. We couldn't find a period of time long enough to score like 3 or 4 or 5 goals in a row and try and get back into the game, which is what we've done most of the year.
That's right. When you use that Port game, because I think that's the best football we've played.
Yep. We got back into it.
We were able to weather the storm, albeit in our back six.
Yep.
And get back on top and then sort of make the most of our periods on top. We had about 2 minutes at the start where we looked okay.
Yep.
And that was
about it.
They kicked 7 goals and the game's over at quarter time.
But then they kept kicking like that, like we only kicked, what did we kick? 7 goals?
7 goals, 3. So 10 scoring shots to 32.
That
could have been so much
could have been
worse.
25, 7.
Look,
So where to from here?
I was going to say, read my mind. Is that a segue if you read my mind?
No.
Damn.
It's just called a good relationship.
You just know me. It's cute.
Answer the freaking question.
I'm trying to formulate a response in my head. It depends, is my official answer.
That's deep.
Is it? It puts a lot of pressure, at least for me, on Friday night against the Dogs, who, again, are also in that...
They lost. They're disappointed. They'll be disappointed.
They lost, but they're in that clusterfuck that is 5th to 10. Whatever. So, in terms of... fuck finals. I don't want to make finals if we're going to dish out performances like that against teams.
This is the reason why I'm so scared to make finals, because of those sort of... And then we have to cop another 300 days of people bagging us out. Can't win a final.
And we will get Geelong at Geelong. Mark my words. That's what'll happen. No, let's not go there. So we don't need to beat the Bulldogs, right? You look at who they've got. They've got midfield for days. They've got good forwards. Their defence is probably where they're vulnerable. Our forward line's not in great form. So you're not really looking at that going, we actually will win that one. But if they come out and get flogged, okay, we probably have some issues we need to look at. If we come out and play decent footy and just lose on the day, whatever, like the Port game or not the Port game, then I'm okay. I can go, all right, well, we played good football. We can put the Geelong game as a little blip on the radar and go, all right, it was a friggin' awful game of football, but we haven't let it continue to affect us.
Yep.
If we get belted, that's us cooked because our percentage is now 101.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Which is another issue. Heading into a game against Sydney, who, although probably aren't going to make finals, have been better. A lot better.
They've just beaten the
last
Dogs.
month.
So
yep.
We've got the Dogs then Sydney who just played each other, and I actually watched most of that game, and I thought the Doggies should have probably won it from what I was watching.
But Sydney have been a lot better than what they were earlier in the year.
They've definitely found form in the second half of the year.
When we were at the bye and we were looking forward, and Sydney was, you wouldn't have even looked at it twice, really. It would have been like, yeah, okay, so she'll win now. Yeah, all right.
Well, I hope what we're saying is in another 4 weeks that we look back at the Geelong one and go, well, that was just a blip.
That's right. Whereas if we continue on...
if we're looking back in 4 weeks and go, well, that was the start of something.
That we papered over the cracks, or we didn't really appreciate what was actually wrong. And I mean, that's for the coaches to figure out, obviously. But
yeah. So from that, there's two paths, I guess, you take this week. Do you drop someone or drop some people?
Sack the ball to play the kids sort of thing? Or
no, you just drop some bad performers. And I think someone like Wiedemann might fall into that category. Not that there's a replacement, but
I've been a big defender of Weeds, and I'm running out of excuses for the man.
Or is the coaches saying well, you guys have got a chance to redeem yourself? You're like, you send pretty much the same team out there, and you say you got a chance to have another go to prove that it was just a blip.
I reckon there's a mix. I think Wiedemann's had chance. Yeah, a little bit. Wiedemann's had chances and just isn't hitting the scoreboard week on week on week on week. Isn't hitting the scoreboard. We'll get Phillips back from a ruck perspective, and history this year at least tells us that Brian's out then, despite the fact he actually played a decent game of football. Draper's back in the conversation. This is now the third of 2 weeks he was talked about being out, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And Laverde got subbed out, you said, so I'm not sure if there's a...
Yeah, and I haven't looked at any injuries information or anything. And I know Redmond was sore last week and sore again this week. And then if you go back to the VFL, some of the, defenders in that game played quite well. So...
Lav hurt his ankle. That's the AFL report.
Yeah, okay. Well, Baldwin, for example, had a ripping game.
Awesome game, yeah.
In the VFL. And we are big fans of him. I like the way he plays. He's pretty much a straight swap for Laverde, isn't he? Like height and all that.
Yep, for sure.
All those sort of things. So if Laverde was iffy, I think that'd be pretty much a straight swap, and I think you'd be happy.
So 25 touches and 12 marks for Kane.
Personally, I'd give Brian another game, but I know that's not going to happen because I just would look at that and go, geez, he did pretty well against Stanley. You're playing the Dogs this week. Yeah, you're playing the Dogs this week, who's another... English is a very mobile ruckman.
Yeah, and very
mobile. Phillips, although was really good the week, again, he got reported. I do worry about his mobility against guys like English who can just run around the ground and get possession after possession.
Right. O'Brien, Adelaide, when he got reported, he's a much more... stand and ruck kind of dude.
He's a big lummox who just likes to battle away.
Which suits Phillips more
exactly, yeah. Whereas English is almost like a 6'10" midfielder, the way he gets around the ground. So that'll be interesting too. Because, as I say, I haven't heard anything about Draper, but I'd be concerned because 2 weeks and they haven't said anything like he's back training.
Well, the injury report normally comes out tomorrow night. So
we'll keep an eye on that.
I am fully supportive of Baldwin for Laverde, and Lav was great against Adelaide. Really, that's purely on the injury, but I'll just prefer Baldwin anyway. But
I still find Laverde, the way he attacks the man, and he's so lucky not to give away free kicks a lot of the time. Like there was a few bits I watched where he's behind in the contest, he punches, but then he drags the player down with him. And I watch that and go, geez, if I was the opposition, I'd be like, well, that's a free kick. But thankfully we get away with them all the time.
The other... what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, you go.
I just read something and I was going to talk about it.
Go.
Now I can't find it.
Oh, my God. Well, I thought you got your screen changed to different.
Oh, I do. It's so big and there's so much information, but that's kind of sort of the problem. The other conversation probably might be worth having, and you might shut this down straight away, is your dog's namesake. Jake
Cheeky Stringer, who's with us today.
He's with us today, down there, Mr. Jake.
Down sitting in front of the heater. Things are good for him.
I would be fairly accurate in saying he's not had a massive input for quite some time. So if we look at his season average...
His numbers are way down, yes.
14 disposals and 21 goals. Sorry, 14 disposals a game and 21 goals for the year. I needed to separate them out from 15 games of football. So 1.4, 1.3, 1.4 goals a game.
Yep.
56% efficiency.
He's playing a bit of midfield in that too. Like if he's look at his CBAs, they'd be up for the. I'll have a quick squizzy of that. Yep.
5 score involvement. I feel like the CBA stuff was a while ago now. I don't feel like I've seen him in the guts too often.
Well, he started in the guts, so in this game.
Okay.
Is that always awkward when I do that to you?
Yeah, that's fine. Again, I don't remember every little detail. So as long as one of us have it covered, we're fine. And he's averaging 3 tackles. That pressure work isn't too bad, but he just isn't hitting the scoreboard. And
here we go. The numbers
pretty slow, and if he's not kicking goals, he doesn't.
Oh yeah. So you were right. Only 7% in this game of CBAs.
Yeah.
With his average for the year being 40% CBA.
Yeah. Okay. So
I just wonder... 7-0, 17, 70, 70, 71, 70. So in the last 3 weeks, that's really changed. And the guy who's picked that up has been Perkins, who's gone 44 and 66.
Yeah.
And Hobbs.
Hobbsy. This comes
from
they're
a shifting
question from Facebook from Patrick. Is Stringer injured? And
he runs the way he runs.
If he was injured, I'm sure he would have been out of the side by now because it's been a few. I don't remember him dominating. I remember him kicking that running torp against GWS. I think it was GWS in like round 4.
Anyway, I can't remember. It
now round 18. And
well, they did. Hobbs was a bit of an emergency or something like that. And sorry, not Hobbs. Voss was a bit of an emergency.
He was an emergency, and he had a dirty game in the VFL.
Yeah, which was the other one too that was interesting. I read that I didn't watch all the VFL game, but Cox came off early, they reckon, to sort of be prepared.
Yeah, there was a bit of talk about managing him. He was emergency as well, so I reckon he would have been in line for Ridley if Riddles didn't come up. But he also kicked a goal in the VFL, so I'm not sure if he played.
Well, I think he played a little bit of in the mid
forward, which
I'll have a look.
He's getting thrown around. So he's been a defender, he's been a winger, he's been a forward.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to figure out what the friggin' hell to do with him, which is fine. That's what the VFL's for.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like, there's been some, we're just talking about Sardis, and Baldwin, and that other Montgomery.
Montgomery's had a week on weeks of being.
Yes, that's right. They've played like several good weeks now in a row of good footy.
And Voss really missed an opportunity. When he was dominating in the VFL earlier in the year, he didn't get a chance. And since then, he's been okay, but not brilliant, and then had a really filthy game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it doesn't have his heat map. I can't find it.
While we're here, I want to get to some socials because I put a post out Sunday saying, ask us some questions. Doesn't even need to be football related. We'll talk about anything at this point because...
You want to know something embarrassing?
I would love to. It's about me or you, actually.
Me?
Okay, yes, I'd love to know.
There's nothing embarrassing about you.
It's plenty.
Penis size. But I was watching the soccer on I want to say, it was a couple of nights ago. Was it last week?
Women's friendly on Friday night?
Well, I didn't know it was a friendly. This is me. This is how much I know about soccer. So I was going, we're beating France. We're beating France. Oh, that's great for our start of the World Cup. How good is that? France, I'm sure it'll be very good because the male French, they're like,
they're good at football.
Yeah, so I'm sure they're females. And I was like, oh, great. We've started off with a win. And then I'm going, how come there's no other games on? Like, why am I not watching something on Saturday or Sunday night? Where's all the women's soccer? And then you sent out today on our work thing, you sent out a
World Cup sweep.
World Cup sweep. I'm going, well, that's stupid, Sam. It's already started.
Sam wasn't stupid.
I thought it,
Nathan
and then I went,
stupid.
I better Google this.
Yeah. It's interesting. I had, it was a friendly, you're quite right. I heard from an Irish fella at work, our resident Irishman at work, saying that the women's Ireland versus Argentina friendly match got called off because it got a bit unfriendly. And it was the Argentines that were being unfriendly, not the Irish. Which was,
as in on the pitch, they were
they were being like they were going to get injured. They were worried about getting injured because they're going that hard. So the Irish just went, nah, we're done. Thanks. See you later.
Fair enough. Yeah, friendly finished.
Anyway, if you do work in an office or anywhere, World Cup sweep, get on it. We're doing a little afternoon tea. You bring food of your country and that you pull from the sweep. And
really, that seems challenging. What if I get?
Well, it's places like USA, Germany.
What would you bring if you got England? Potatoes.
Their national dish is curry, I believe.
No, I think you'll find that's. I'm sorry, you're wrong.
I'm gonna Google it right now.
I don't care. Even if it does say curry, it's wrong. Can't be something that I've started doing in the last 10 years. Well, 100 years, 70 years, I guess.
Chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, no, so that's wrong.
And fish and chips. There's 2.
Fish and chips, I'll give them.
Fish and chips I can have.
Although I would say that's more Scottish, to be honest. Anyway, let's move on.
But anyway, America,
better than the football.
You've got food. Switzerland is in there, chocolate. Germany, sausages.
Well, you could do meatballs too.
Swiss. There's China and South Korea as Asia. Plenty of options. Anyway.
Australia, you bring a barbecue.
Barbecue, yeah.
Barbecue chips.
Vegemite toast. All good food. I'm not shitting on it. That's fantastic food. Anyway, digress. Didn't take much convincing to go down that path. Shall I talk about some socials, or shall we gush
give me
about
some socials. No, I want some socials.
You want some socials? All right. I'll start with some football-related things, and then we'll probably just go on into non.
Then we'll jump on to what happens next week.
It's 80 comments, so that's a lot to go through. And there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversation, so I love it. I'm not going to be able to read all of them, though. I want to throw this one at you just because I forgot this guy existed. So, Lee, how handy would Setterfield have been? He's missed both matches against the Cats where we appear to be undersized in the midfield.
You're right. He has. It's funny. It's another one of those ones where I thought he was out for like 2 weeks, and it's now 8 weeks later, and I haven't heard boo from him about him.
Didn't he?
Well, anyway, I don't know. Yeah, look, he's required. I'm still fascinated about how our midfield structure, like for example, Shield not being in the team I don't think that's the reason we lost. And I think he's going to struggle to get back in. He didn't even play VFL, did he? No.
No, I didn't see him. No.
They put him down. It must have had him down as injured or
saving face. The interesting thing I find, and it's not just Setterfield, it's Shield as well, is even though we've just come off a 70-point loss, whatever it was, I don't see who comes out still, because for the development of the team, I don't want it to be Caldwell or Hobbs. Or Perkins.
No, it definitely won't be Caldwell, Hobbs, or Perkins. And the guys that I think are on in a bit of doubt, let's say Wiedemann. That's not the change.
It's not the swap. Yep.
It's maybe Snelling or Guelphy, but they're all right. They're still not the right roles. Still different roles.
Snelling, you could get away with.
Snelling, I think, is probably the one. Like, say if you took Snelling out and put Sardis in, you'd go, well, I think that's a step up. If you want to stick Sardis on a bit of a wing, bit of a half forward, and throw him into the midfield for a couple of CBAs and just sort of let him have a bit of a feel of it, then that I would think that's a step up in quality player.
And that's what we've got to find the line between, though. We've got to find the line between improvement in the player versus
just playing
what
someone.
The potential of the player is. And that's why I really just want to see Caldwell Hobbs stay in there, because, I mean, Hobbs had a reasonable game by numbers.
And they're clearly, like, in the last 6 or 7 weeks, they've been, like, Perkins, I think, too, has been playing really good footy.
Well, he was on danger for a fair whack of what I watched.
And they're giving him those roles, which tells me that they're like, yep.
They're priming him to be Dusty Martin. Like,
he's the guy I think will move it. Yeah,
evasive.
He'll take like a Butters type Rosie.
Good footballers.
Yeah. Well, but that's this, those forwards that go mid and then can still snag a sausage roll, but be really creative.
Yeah. There's a whole host of ones talking about Sardis. We'll talk about that in a minute. Resident Phil, who
Tony
needs to get his backside on a plane and come to the MCG because we need to win.
Yeah, could you come to the next Geelong game?
Yes, please. At the G, though, I think that's a prerequisite. Again, we'll crowdfund. If there's a grand final or Geelong, we'll crowdfund.
Or if it's a final, if we have to play Geelong in a final, you're coming.
Phil is going. No, I won't say that, actually. I'm going to offer to pay, but I'll regret it. Don't say things on the internet you don't know.
By the way, everyone, he's very cheap.
You know full well I am quite the opposite.
He's cheap.
I bought my mate a game yesterday just so he'd play with me.
He's just a loser as well. He's a cheap loser.
Yeah.
He's got no friends.
I'll admit that. He would have bought it. He was just indecisive, and I went, you know what? I'm just going to buy it. It's $8. I'm just going to buy it for you.
You big spender.
Might have been
best
$9.
Mate in the world. $8.
Best
It's like
mate
a
in the
fucking
world's a
coffee
stretch.
and a donut.
Best mate in the world's a stretch. He goes for Richmond, so he won't be listening. It's okay. Anyway, Phil, our mate Phil, never had us winning this game. There were some telling signs heading in that made it glaringly obvious. However, it would have been nice to be competitive. I feel like Geelong is just a bad matchup for us for some reason. Yeah. They all just fire when playing.
Yeah. And looking at the stats, the thing that really hurt me about the game was when you look at the stats, like, just this disposal, Max Holmes, Tom Atkins, Ryan Myers,
Messi,
and Zach Guthrie. I mean,
none
of them are world beaters. They're all decent football players. I'm not going to say that, but
I want to give Ryan Myers just a little bit of love.
No,
just a little bit. Bear with me.
Can't handle
all
the kicking
this
action.
Stuff with Jared Waitley and the Messi fake quote and all that. He kicked the first goal of the game and did the Messi celebration, and that was fucking awesome.
I can't handle that kicking action. It really annoys me.
No, but that was banter. That was a great celebration.
Fair enough.
He also asked Phil if Parrish misses next week due to suspension, which is a no. He didn't get suspended. But I want to talk about
Merritt got a fine.
He was hit and just dropped and got straight back up. It's the umpire's fault for giving it a free kick. I don't think Merritt staged for anything, though.
Well, he did stage because he got the free kick. That's what staging is.
Yeah, but he going to ground.
I think he over-exaggerated the amount of force to get a free kick.
1,000 times every game. Why does our bloke get fucking still?
I don't disagree with you, Sam.
Essendon agenda.
Yep, I can see it, and I was like, it's no good look.
Angus just asked, how are you boys going? And I think he just meant generally. But
as I said, I kept away from it. I found myself distracted by other things. Got a few other things going on in my life, so that worked out well for the last 2 or 3 days because I would have hated to have watched it. It would have sent me into a rage. I hate Geelong, and I hate when we play like that. It just.
I agree. I don't have the same level of hatred for Geelong you do, but I don't like them just the same.
Yep.
Peter James comes up with a good thought here. Thoughts on dropping the weed for Flipper and leaving Bryza, never heard him called that once in my life, in. Brian rucked pretty well. Can we play 2 ruck
and play Flipper
and play Flipper and Brian instead of Weed and Brian and or Flipper?
I think we need to find, I did notice in the stats again, as I said, I didn't watch the whole game. It was too painful. Mm-hmm. I did notice in the stats, the hit-outs had Peter Wright on 10. So he must have done a fair bit of...
Which is what we were trying to avoid.
Exactly what we're trying to avoid. He did 21% of the CBAs, where Wiedemann did none. Now, I don't understand that. I'm a bit confused by that, to be honest. I think that's bad coaching.
They're just trying to get him a goal at this point.
But Peter Wright can have the rest of the year and be ordinary. I don't really mind. He's just got to play footy, get back to his full fitness, and then be ready for 2023. Whereas Wiedemann, I thought we got him into the team to use him as that, okay, you're the second ruckman. You're the guy who's going to have to put your body on the line so Peter Wright doesn't have to. I don't want Peter Wright to get a knee injury going up in a ruck contest that he shouldn't be at.
Yep, agreed.
No offense, Wiedemann, he's the sacrificial lamb. And if he was... I could see a world where where Bryant could play that role, his role, and Flipper could play the ruck role. Mm-hmm. I could see that world.
I could too. That's a great theory. But I'd call it that.
The thing is about all these ideas, and this is one we don't get to make the decisions.
Yeah,
we don't get to make the decisions. One of my biggest pet peeve is when Fox Footy or the AFL. Or somebody, like that says, "Oh, what's your thoughts on this? Should it be changed?" And I'm like, "What the fuck's the point of me?" It's not gonna happen. They're not gonna look at a Twitter poll and go, "Oh yeah,
oh shit,
it was spoken."
Wouldn't put it past the AFL, just quietly. Matt asks, "Do you think we should have a crack at Himmelberg in the FA?" And I would have been hard on this, but he's only 195. I don't think it's really solving an issue for us.
I tell you, who's gone very cold too is Mackay. He's been playing some ordinary football.
Yeah. He went cold after the job interview last week too. Redmond. Played a blinder against the Crom, and then it was
been ordinary last 2 weeks. Rumours floating around there offering him a lot of coin.
Look, honestly, you play football for 10 years of your life. If they're offering you a lot of coin and you jump at it, yeah. Okay.
I don't have. If they're offering, if the numbers are correct and they're offering 700 to 800 or whatever they're throwing, He'd be a fool not to take that.
And
for
it's
a 5
not like they're bottom of the ladder.
No, for a 4 or 5 year contract. Yeah, I'll take it and I'll set myself up. Like we're talking a couple of million over,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's loyalty and then there's stupidity.
I'm all for loyalty, but again, if they just said, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to get that.
If clubs
here.
come knocking like that, you'd sit down with your family and your loved ones. Go, it's a pretty big decision.
5 years of footy left. What are we doing? Yeah, sure.
And I don't know Redmond. I don't know if he's
don't know him very well, really.
Well, he might have a career. He might be university educated. He might be, his dad might own a Mitre 10. I don't know what his future is. Some football players go, well, I know what I'm doing after I finish footy. It's pretty sorted.
Doesn't strike me as a journo. Doesn't strike me as a coach. But then I wouldn't have said Joe Watson was media either. And here we are. So.
But yeah, Watson I think could have been because of his just family name.
Yeah. Anyway, final question.
Yep.
And possibly the most important of all. From Jack Francis.
Big Franger.
Great name, Jack Francis. Very strong. Surely Warner doesn't play the next test, right?
Oh, God, I hope not. That's on tomorrow night, isn't it?
Seen the weather forecast?
Rain.
We're going to retain the Ashes off a draw.
Oh, please, I hope so.
I hope so too.
I hope it rains for 4 days and they can just do that.
If it wasn't for the whole Bairstow issue, I would have preferred to play cricket, but seriously.
Yeah, it still annoys me, that does. I did see someone suggesting, what's his name? The Big Show. No,
Maxwell. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Bring him in for the last 2 tests and put him in the opening game. He's apparently been making runs over
There's a couple of interesting ones because Harris was making runs, the Victorian opener, was making runs in England, but I haven't seen much since. Michael Nisa, who's a bowler, is coming off 170 in Canada.
And he's made other tons, I think.
Yeah, he's made multiple tons this year, this season.
He has to get a game because we need to, I think that's part of the issue too, is the tail's a bit too long.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put him in instead of Boland, he nearly bats in front of Cummings and Stark. And that makes a tail you can play Hazelwood or not, but that makes our tail really short. It's probably just the spin bowler if you bat him.
Oh, I get what you mean. Normally, if you say the tail's long, you bat deep.
Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, fair enough. So it makes our tail really long.
I got what you mean, yeah. What you meant.
Short tail, that means there's not,
there's not a lot of tail. I get it, but if you bat long,
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I saw some theories around Mitch Marsh opening.
Don't mind that either.
And then you get Cameron Green back in that all-rounder role.
Yep. And you get an extra bowler too. Well, you get 2 extra.
Bowler, yeah. Which you
can do shorter spells. Do you drop the spinner?
Depends on the surface, to be honest. I think you've got to have it. Unless we commit to bowling head or something.
But he barely got to go. So what's the point of picking him if he's not bowling overs? And he can't bat for shit.
No.
But you're right. We could bowl head. You could bowl. Even Stevie Smith could bowl up.
Marnus loves the bowl. Probably the least likely to take wickets. But
it would depend on what the pitch is and what it does.
Well, like I say, I think it was genuinely a week of rain in Manchester. So, I want to.
I hope it rains for at least 4 days
and
get one innings out of it.
Just to get it on default would be fantastic.
Yep.
Anyway, enough about cricket.
I do love cricket.
I love Test cricket. I love the Ashes. Yeah.
Well, Test cricket for me is still what I like to watch. I've never really got into the Big Bash stuff. I've watched a bit of it, but it doesn't enthrall me. And I think part of that is that I don't have a love for the clubs. I don't.
They're franchises.
Yeah, I've never really picked up on any of them, even though one of them's red and black, and it probably would be. And from Melbourne, it'll probably be obvious for me to pick that one, but. The players come and go too. They come and go too easily. Within a few seasons, someone's gone already, and I'm like, I was just starting to like that guy. He's gone already.
Big Bash peaked pre-COVID. It hasn't really had the same attraction, and they made the season too long, and it just got shit.
I felt that too.
Yeah, I love Test cricket anyway. I think.
Well, and Test cricket, you're back for Australia. Your passion's with Australia. That's your club.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind watching the Shield as well, the longer form Shield cricket.
Exactly. I don't mind Shield too. And again, it's Victoria. I don't barrack for New South Wales or Queensland or anything like that.
We don't like New South Wales.
No, but it's really easy. Victoria. This is straightforward.
And then you follow your players, and Victorians are well known for just loving players purely because they're Victorian. Siddle, Boland, less so batsmen, but the bowlers in particular, Pattinson.
Whereas in America, they have, to go on sport talk, like I see the Oakland A's, who their owner, so they've been horrible this year on the bottom of the league, and no one's going to watch them. So their owner's trying to move them to, I think Los Angeles or something like that, or some other place. And I just feel that'd be horrible. I imagine following on a club, and then the owner goes, "No, I want to shift to another town,
another state."
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, that'd suck."
That's bizarre.
Well, imagine those poor people from Fitzroy that 35 years ago went up to Brisbane. You're like, it still burns. Yeah. On that though, can they send North Melbourne to Tassie?
Then who would we hate? Then who would pretend to have a vendetta against the Essendon?
Well, they're straight away. They got a rivalry. Boom, set up.
Solid.
First round. When Tassie joined the competition, they play Essendon in round 1.
You'd probably still be tin rattlers. All right, we need to talk about the glaringly obvious from the actual game of football on the weekend in the VFL. And that is pick number 5. 5? He wears number 5 anyway. Elijah Sartis. Currently averaging in his first 5 games of VFL 25.6 disposals, 7 clearances, and 3.6 tackles. The man is
not horrible numbers.
The man is due. Get him on Friday night footy under the roof where he can be clean, he can be slippery, and
I'm fascinated that he hasn't got I think any other Essendon coach would have given him a game by now. Like,
I think the only issue with, if he'd played all season in the VFL, but he was injured for so long. He's only played 5 games. It's really
that's right. And he was injured for, I don't know, 10, 11 weeks or whatever. And I would have thought now at 5 games, that's like you're back into it, like he's had 2 games above 30 possessions. He had 11 clearances on the weekend, so I think the only issue was his disposal, but that's because he was, being a lot more of an in and under sort of clearance player.
There were mitigating factors to that. I saw someone saying there was a lot of ground kicks and it was a bit wet. And if you're getting clearances, you're
getting the ball.
Your possession efficiency would naturally be a little bit lower. So
but as you said, it's under the roof.
And if he's coming into the AFL side, he's not playing inside mid.
Yeah.
He's on the outside.
He's going to be on the outside. Parrish and that'll be feeding it out to him, and he could be something. I do agree. I think it's the sort of guy, again, and probably if I was to pick someone who's out at Snelling, he's in, unless there's another injury we don't know about.
It's an improvement. Well, we can't really say that because it's a first-year player, but...
Well, I think the hype and
it's an improvement.
As we've talked about, the guys that are already playing around his picks are very good players. So,
to quote the great Ross Lyon, it's an improvement in the vibe.
Didn't know that was his quote.
Well, he said something about the vibe. He didn't want to come to Essendon because of the vibe.
Oh, right, yes. There you go.
He just lost to Gold Coast. So how's that going for you, Ross?
How about the Gold Coast? Still not happy about that coach decision. Anyway, that'd be probably much. I'd love to see Brian stay. I really think
I like the Wiedemann out, Brian and Flipper play ruck. Unless Sammy's back, that throws a spanner in.
Well, if Sammy was back, then if Sammy was, say, 70%, or maybe 90%, realistically, that could be the Wiedemann because Brian could stay rucking, say, 60, 70% ruck.
Plonk Sammy in the forward line.
Sammy could go forward.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Because that could be, in the future, that could be the game. Like, Bryant and Draper playing, Wiedemann not, and Peter Wright's your other third tall.
I like it. Get it done. Did you have Max Gawn as your captain in Supercoach or fantasy?
We all sold him because of Grundy.
250.
Him and Grundy couldn't score together. Then they get rid of Grundy and he has
the game of his life.
Has 3 million fantasy points.
It was quite the game, wasn't it?
Do they bring Grundy back? That's the question.
Why would you? That's the best football they've played. I mean, in patches, albeit. That's the best footy they've played for freaking month or more.
Yep. I agree. I think if I'd watch that and go, it's hard to see him coming back.
Sorry, Brody. How's a third club sound?
Wow. Jeez, Geelong.
He would fit in at Geelong. Something about Geelong and the hipster vibe and...
Yep.
Yeah.
Or the other club might be, and there's talk of, who's am I thinking of? Not, I was going to say Freo, but that's not right.
This is
Don't worry about me.
content.
I'll stop now.
Okay. Another club.
No, well, what's another? I'm not thinking of who doesn't have a ruckman at the moment.
Carlton? I can't see him playing for Carlton.
Can't see him playing for Carlton. Oh, West Coast.
He's surely staying in Victoria.
Yeah.
They're looking all right.
But if they paid him like good money,
and he'd still be getting paid by Collingwood and Melbourne probably.
And he'd be a good player. Like he's a senior player, so you go over. He's not a pick. Like they won't have to give up a draft pick for him. He'd be just a money exchange back to Melbourne, and we'll come over, and that they could get 4 or 5 years just of his leadership and maturity, and get another young kid in.
Not the worst idea. Now, we talked about not doing votes this week.
Yes,
but we're going to give one symbolic vote each. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just to Nick Bryant.
Just for playing his first game.
It was a good game of football.
Good game of footy. He was the highlight.
And, well, you in particular have been calling out for him to play more often, so.
As I said, I think that, and I have no problem with Flip. I have a couple of problems with Flip. But I would love to see the club just at his age, Bryant's 21, whereas Flip's 31, or maybe he's 22, I'm not sure. Then just say, all right, the last 6 games of the year, 4 games, whatever we've got left, 6, you can play and we'll maybe manage Draper through it. And Flip, if someone gets injured, you get a game. Because next year, I'd be disappointed if Flip's playing those, when we're looking for 2 ruckmen, if Flip's the guy that comes in. I'd find that a bit disappointing. Because I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, got to get games into these kids. And I think he's one of those kids that we'll start to see in a year or two going, oh, geez, he's a good player.
Hopefully. That's what you want. Just quickly, we've actually somehow managed to scrape through to about time.
We make it up every week, Sam.
We do. Next week against the Dogs, we've talked about the changes. We've talked about all that. I'll just grab a tip from you if that's okay.
Oh, God, do I have to? I hate to. Essendon by 500 points. I've tipped us in my footy tipping, and it's a Friday night, so I've got us by 24. Yeah, I know. Stupid, isn't it? Coming off a 70-point flogging, and I've just tipped us to beat the team above us.
We are somewhat delusional as a supporter group. Do I have to tip Essendon? Am I allowed to not tip Essendon?
No, I want you to. Perfect. I've tipped against us.
No, you on the podcast at the very least. You sit here and talk about why we're so shit for 3 hours, and then tip us to beat Collingwood.
Because that's what I do tipping, and this is why I don't like doing tipping, because I can't not tip
you're an idiot. Yeah.
Because I'm an idiot. And I can't handle the fact that I tipped us against Geelong because I kept thinking, yeah, but if we do win, I'll be pissed off I didn't get that tip.
I'd rather get the tip wrong and win, to be honest.
That's not how I think.
Essendon by 3 points. I always go low in the tipping because if I get it wrong, then I'm at least close.
It'd be interesting to see because the Doggies don't tag, and we won't tag them like Bontempelli and Liberatore. English is going to be a massive challenge for us. If I really don't want it to be Flipper, I'd rather see English beat Draper Bryant than. But anyway. So yeah, it's gonna be fascinating. Like their forwards are really good, high marking forwards.
Norton's very good contested as well,
but they're not standing, wrestle forwards.
Can I suggest something to you then? And I mean this in all seriousness. It's a very serious topic.
Oh God! Can
we bring Shield back in and just give him one instruction to run through Cody Waitman, and then we'll sub him out? Or just it doesn't have to be Shield, just any sacrificial lamb.
Well, there's another one.
And as soon as that little prick ducks his head,
he will kick 4.
Rip it off.
He will kick 4.
And then, maybe a little concussion will teach him not to duck quite so much.
Does McGrath go to him and just say hard tag?
Yeah, probably McGrath.
They'll probably put Kelly, though, realistically.
I'd love to see a bit of physicality, though. Yeah. I mean, Ginnivan's not even in Collingwood's team anymore, but he learnt very quickly. It doesn't work.
Does anyone who watched the game, how did Kelly go? Because at the parts I've watched, I didn't see much of him at all.
Can't answer that. He was the ordinary for the first 20 minutes that I watched.
I still don't like him, and as we've discussed, I still don't like him and Heppel in the same team. And I look at again, didn't watch the whole game. Heppel had 26 touches, probably did his job.
Mm-hmm.
I just think we lose a bit of pace with both of them in the back six.
We said that, and then we were very good against Port and then beat the Crows. So it kind of went away. We can't just pick and choose.
It did, but
based on
that could be just the
result. I agree. I think we're too slow still.
Just something I don't like.
Hind came on in the third quarter and had 10 touches. So
maybe Kelly should be the sub.
Oh, God, no. What's wrong with you?
Okay. Just throwing it out there.
No, look, supportive of ideas, but I don't think that's not the one that unlocks the final series for us or anything.
Just on a stat, I was just looking at then too, at a random. So Peter Wright has rucked 6% of the year, whereas Wiedemann has rucked 3%. So Peter Wright in the 4 games he's played, which Wiedemann's played nearly every game except for he had a little.
But it's percentage, so it doesn't matter about the games they've played.
No, that's right. So his totals. Oh yeah, the totals are 8 to 13.
Anyway, bizarre.
I just don't know why Wiedemann's not being used more in the ruck. But anyway,
okay. I agree. That's why he's brought to the football club.
That's why he's brought to. I thought he was coming in as a forward who could do a bit of ruck work for us.
That was my impression too.
So that Peter Wright doesn't have to, because Peter Wright's a valuable
Peter
forward.
Wright can kick goal.
Yep.
Now, next week, Friday night against the Dogs, so likely podcast on Sunday. We don't want to rush
Saturday morning.
do it on the Saturday because we need time to digest. Cry.
Get through our emotions.
Yeah. I had a mate at the Brisbane and Melbourne game who goes for Brisbane. I reckon he was pretty close to tears too, to be honest.
That was
And
heartbreaking.
Melksham. Talk about your redemption story. He has against Carlton. It's exactly what I was thinking at the time.
Yep. I didn't think he got the legs in it either when he kicked. I thought that's not normal. And then it's got over the top.
Yeah. That was 10 years
ago. I
was
very happy for him. I like Melksham. Had no problem with him.
Nothing wrong
and he
with
left in good circumstances, I thought.
Yeah. He hasn't really had a good run at Melbourne either. So.
No. I mean, he's in a pretty good team, to be honest.
Well, his mate Pig that went with him is a premiership player. Melks is.
Yep. No, it was pretty impressive. It was a very good game of footy. I still think, and not on different topic, I still think Melbourne are a shot to win the whole thing because
I think they've unlocked a little bit with Gawn.
Well, I think that the fact is they're going to finish 4th. I'm pretty confident in that. Collingwood are going to finish 1st, so that final's going to be played in Melbourne at the MCG.
And Melbourne beat them.
Melbourne can beat Collingwood.
That's birthday.
If it's Brisbane at the MCG against Collingwood or Port Adelaide at the MCG against Collingwood, I reckon Collingwood have got them. If it's Melbourne, who know how to play the MCG and know big games and all that sort of stuff, I reckon they could tip Collingwood in that first final, and then Collingwood then have to go the long way around, and they might have to play Geelong. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Rocking a hard place there, Collingwood, Geelong.
Oh, yeah, it's a fucking nil or draw.
Has to be Geelong. Collingwood have got 15 flags. They are the last team we, as supporters, and Carlton, it's the one thing we can share.
Collingwood don't have 15, they got 14.
I'm pretty sure 2018, I passionately went for West Coast because Collingwood have 15 flags.
That would have, 15 would, they're on 14, 15, that flag would have given us the same as Carlton and us. But I'm just saying that.
That's what I'm saying.
No. So Carlton and Essendon are on 15. Collingwood's on 14.
No. Carlton and Essendon are on 16.
Oh, sorry, yes. So they'll just catch us. They won't pass us.
Yeah, but, us and Carlton have kind of been on the understanding, well, hey, at least we have 16 flags. That's
we even do cups presentations to each other.
And then Collingwood are all of a sudden one on 16.
Put them in a little circle and go, hey, look at all their cups.
Yeah. It's not a great time.
Yeah, so I just think that, that's interesting because I think that's the hardest team for Collingwood to play at the MCG would be Melbourne.
Classified by us, obviously.
Obviously.
We'll find out, actually. We played them again.
Anyway, we're off on a tangent.
We are. That'll do us. I can't believe.
If the 2 people that have stayed this long.
Just comment, I'm here. We'll send you a cap or something.
Yeah. If you're still here now and you give made it to the end comment.
Up to 5. Let's not get carried away, just in case, please.
No. We'll give everyone a cap.
Not everyone.
I'll pay.
All right, Nathan's paying. You heard it here first. We'll make sure everyone at work just watches it just to spite you now.
Sam will probably just do it himself. Go get a little
I'll
fake
sign up
account.
for 13 YouTube accounts. If you're on Spotify and Apple, too bad, I guess. You're going to have to go to the YouTube and comment specifically, because we always forget that it's not purely
we only said
visuals. Yeah.
Visual. Oh, the visual jokes you miss out on, people.
Oh, the stuff you miss out on.
Let's wrap this puppy up.
Let's do it. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you no matter where you are, despite what you may think. We do love you on Spotify and Apple as well.
That's a big call.
We'll talk to you next week.
Love.
Can you just not be so cruel to our listenership, please?
I like them.
Yeah. Well, all right. Nathan's got commitment issues. You heard it here first. Go Dons.
Go Bombers.